At the start of the movie, we see a young Irish fisherman named Syracuse ventures into the waters off the coast of Ireland to fish. One fateful day, he discovers an unconscious woman tangled in his fishing nets. Concerned for her safety, he brings her aboard and is relieved to find that, upon regaining consciousness, she appears unharmed. However, the woman behaves strangely. She refuses medical attention and cannot recall her name, leading Syracuse to believe she's suffering from amnesia. Out of compassion, he takes her to his late mother's house, offers her a meal, and suggests she stay there to recuperate. Later that day, Syracuse has to tend to another pressing matter, his young daughter Annie, who lives with his ex-wife, Maura. Annie requires regular dialysis treatments, and Syracuse takes her to the hospital for her procedure. While waiting, he entertains her with a story about a fisherman who catches a mysterious woman from the sea. Annie listens intently and offers her interpretation, mentioning selkies, a mythical sea creature she learned about at school. She explains that selkies occasionally come ashore but must eventually return to the sea when called back. After Annie's treatment, Syracuse returns her to Maura's house, where Annie shows off a new electric wheelchair her father has just bought her. While the moment brings joy, it's overshadowed by Maura's sharp criticism of Syracuse for not discussing a potential kidney transplant with the doctor. The conversation leaves Syracuse feeling inadequate, however he's resolved to be there for Annie. The following morning, Syracuse encounters the mysterious woman by a stream near his house, washing clothes and singing in an unfamiliar language. She asks if she can join him on his fishing trip, and he reluctantly agrees. On board, she introduces herself as Ondine, explaining that her name means from the water. During the trip, Syracuse notices something extraordinary. Although the lobster pots initially come up empty, when Ondine begins to sing a haunting melody, the pots fill with an abundant catch. Ondine helps Syracuse pull in the haul, though he insists on throwing the smaller lobsters back into the sea. Despite her contributions, she firmly refuses to accompany him to the market, not wanting others to see her. On shore, Syracuse sells the lobsters to surprised buyers and uses part of the earnings to buy a dress for Ondine. He then picks up Annie from school, continuing the story of the fisherman and the mysterious woman. In the tale, he mentions that the woman's singing draws fish, making the fisherman's dreams come true. Annie, struck by the parallels to real events, wonders if it's more than just a story. After dropping Annie back at Maura's house, Syracuse returns home, unaware that Annie is secretly following him. At her grandmother's cottage, she finds Ondine conversing with her father. When Syracuse asks Ondine how long she plans to stay, she hesitates and Syracuse impulsively declares that she can stay forever, imagining a fairy tale ending for them. Annie, who overhears this, grows even more curious and later visits the library to research selkies. Meanwhile, Syracuse grapples with his own struggles. During a confession at church, he admits to being a recovering alcoholic, sober for over 2 years but still haunted by troubling dreams. In one recurring nightmare, he had attended the funeral of Maura's new husband, Alex, and reunites with Maura, who continues to battle her own drinking issues. The priest suggests seeking professional help, but Syracuse declines, emphasizing the confidentiality of confession. He then shares the secret of finding Ondine and hiding her, to which the priest offers little guidance beyond encouraging him to attend mass service. Back at the cottage, Ondine busies herself cleaning and exploring the items Syracuse has brought her. She is particularly intrigued by a pair of fishnet stockings, stretching them over her hands to create a webbed appearance. Her fascination with these simple items shows her unfamiliarity with the human world. The next day, Annie visits her grandmother's cottage and catches Ondine swimming in the water. Unafraid, Annie approaches Ondine and confidently states that the tale of the fisherman and the selkie isn't just a story, it's real. She tells Ondine about her illness and asks if she has the power to heal her. Ondine gently explains that she has no magic, though she grows fond of Annie's curiosity and bold nature. Annie, eager to learn more about Ondine's world, peppers her with questions. She insists on honesty, believing it to be the foundation of their budding friendship. Annie asks what life underwater is like, to which Ondine replies that it has its ups and downs, much like life on land, though singing is easier beneath the waves. Annie eagerly shares her newfound knowledge about selkies, gleaned from books she's read. According to the books, selkies can stay on land for up to 7 years, provided they find happiness with a human. Suddenly shifting the conversation, she brings up her late grandmother, remarking on how much her father still misses her. With a sense of nostalgia, Annie prepares to return home, but not before Ondine asks her to visit again. Meanwhile, Syracuse visits the library to research selkies himself, only to discover that Annie has already taken all relevant books. At the same time, Annie meets some neighborhood kids showing off their bikes. She lets one of the girls play with her electric wheelchair, but it soon runs out of power and gets stuck in the water. The other kids abandon her, leaving Annie to make her way home alone. Upon arriving, Alex, Maura's new husband, recharges the wheelchair battery and tells her about selkies from his native Scotland. However, Annie insists that Ondine speaks a language entirely different from anything she's heard before. In the meantime, Syracuse finds Ondine sitting on a pontoon in the middle of the bay and offers her a ride back to his boat. He asks her to steer, but when a patrol boat speeds by, Ondine instinctively hides and steers the boat with her foot. Syracuse teases her for her resourcefulness, but the lighthearted moment is interrupted when Ondine starts singing a haunting melody. As Syracuse pulls up his fishing net, he's astonished to find it brimming with salmon, a rare and valuable catch for those waters. However, their luck is soon tested when the patrol boat returns. Wildlife officers board the vessel and inspect the catch, demanding to see the nets used. Syracuse shows them his usual nets, which are completely dry, proving he caught the salmon fairly. The officers spot Ondine hiding and question her, but she confirms Syracuse's story. Satisfied, the officers leave, and the pair sail to the harbor to sell their bountiful haul. Grateful for her help, Syracuse offers to buy Ondine a gift. She asks for a new dress and insists on choosing it herself. On their way to the store, they encounter Annie, who is thrilled that their story seems to be more than just a fairy tale. Annie eagerly helps Ondine pick out an outfit while the townspeople stare in awe at the mysterious and beautiful newcomer. Later, Annie visits her grandmother's cottage, now bright and inviting thanks to Ondine's efforts. Ondine offers to teach Annie how to swim, and they spend time together in the shallow waters. While playing, Ondine spots something submerged and retrieves a bundle. Annie, excited, identifies it as selkie clothing, explaining the legend. If the clothing is buried, a selkie can remain on land for 7 years unless claimed by their sea husband. Acting on the advice, Ondine buries the bundle in a greenhouse while Annie carefully counts the steps to memorize the location. Annie later tells her father about the bundle and warns him to be wary of strangers. The family attends a local festival by boat, where Annie pushes Ondine to admit to her that she's magical. Still pushing for truth, Annie pretends her wheelchair brakes have failed and plunges into the water, hoping to test Ondine's supposed powers. Without hesitation, Ondine dives in to rescue her, pulling her to safety. Syracuse carries Annie home and hands her over to Maura and Alex to their deep relief. As they return home, Ondine tells Syracuse the wheelchair's brakes were fine and that Annie staged the incident to see if she could breathe underwater. Feeling the need to open up, Syracuse confesses his past struggles with alcoholism. He recounts the pivotal moment when he returned home to find Maura passed out beside their unconscious daughter. That scare led him to quit drinking, realizing one parent needed to stay sober to care for Annie. At the same time, Maura warns Annie about a dark-haired stranger asking questions about Ondine. The news unsettles Annie, and she dreams of selkie legends that night. Meanwhile, Syracuse and Ondine's relationship grows deeper, and they share an intimate moment that evening. The next day, Syracuse confesses his guilt to the priest, admitting he fears the happiness Ondine brings might be too good to last. The priest encourages him to embrace hope, but Syracuse remains wary, torn between anticipation and dread. After leaving the church, Syracuse encounters an unfamiliar man asking about Ondine. Refusing to engage, Syracuse drives away. Later, when he returns home after Annie's dialysis, he finds the house broken into and Ondine missing. Frantic, Syracuse searches the shore and eventually finds her hiding. She reveals that her sea husband has come for her. That night, chaos erupts when the stranger, still searching for Ondine, collides with Maura's car while driving intoxicated. Alex is thrown through the windshield, and Annie sustains some injuries. Passing by the scene, Syracuse and Ondine recognize the car and he immediately rushes to the scene to find the medics taking Annie to the hospital. When they arrive, they soon learn that Alex did not survive but that he is a compatible kidney donor for Annie. After discovering this, an immediate transplant is scheduled for Annie. While waiting, Ondine encounters the stranger in the hallway. He questions why she speaks their language and that she doesn't belong here, hinting at a connection to the sea. Ondine urges him to return and let her be. The next morning, Annie awakens and immediately asks for Ondine. Syracuse reassures her they'll see her soon, hopeful that their unusual family might yet find happiness together. Later, Alex's cremation ceremony takes place. Maura scatters his ashes into the sea, reflecting with regret that this time, she can't blame her ex-husband for everything. She asks Syracuse to take full custody of Annie but demands he get rid of Ondine. Later on, she persuades Syracuse to drink to Alex's memory and eventually leaves him in a drunken state. Syracuse stumbles to the boat where Ondine is hiding and angrily calls her a selkie. He takes her out to sea, insisting she needs to return to her supposed husband and sing her songs for him instead. He sails to the base of a lighthouse and orders her to leave, convinced that life isn't a fairy tale and that humans and selkies don't belong together. When Ondine asks to say goodbye to Annie, Syracuse ignores her and sails away. As the sun sets, Ondine's silhouette on a log resembles a mermaid waiting for the night. When darkness falls, she dives into the sea. The next morning, Syracuse awakens, deeply regretful. After bringing Annie home from the hospital, the girl comforts him, assuring him that Ondine will return because she left something behind. Later, when Annie watches TV, Syracuse recognizes a song from an Icelandic band. Syracuse suddenly realizes Ondine's words were lyrics from a song, not selkie magic. Realizing she's a human, he rushes to the lighthouse to find her. After a frantic search along the shore, he finally spots her warming herself on a rock. At first, Ondine pretends she's a selkie who buried her magical clothes to stay on land. But when pressed, she admits the truth. Her real name is Ioana, a Romanian courier transporting illegal substances. During a police raid, her guard panicked and threw her overboard, leaving her to nearly drown until Syracuse's net saved her. When they return home, they find the strange man and another man holding Annie hostage. The men demanded for the hidden package Ondine had buried. Following Annie's lead, they are led to the greenhouse, but the package isn't there, it's been hidden elsewhere. Annie reveals it's in a lobster crate. While attempting to retrieve the package, Ondine throws one of the men overboard, while Syracuse disarms the other and tosses him into the sea as well. Soon the police arrive and arrest the second man after realizing the stranger is dead already. Towards the end of the movie, Ondine faces deportation and the only criterion to stay is for her to gain citizenship. Later, Annie confesses to the priest, playfully saying her father is marrying soon. The film then ends with a joyous scene, the fisherman and his bride sailing off on their honeymoon, bringing their unlikely fairy tale to life.